This week is shaping up to be a pivotal moment for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially with the looming clash against the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles, despite coming off a Super Bowl winning season in 2024, have faced an uphill battle throughout 2025, with an offense that has struggled to find consistency in both the passing and running games. One of the most pressing issues, of course, has been the state of the offensive line. Injuries have hit hard, with Lane Johnson sidelined for the next 4 to 6 weeks due to a left foot injury, leaving a huge void at right tackle. Johnson has long been the backbone of this unit, and the numbers show just how crucial he is with him on the field. The Eagles boast a nearly 66% win rate, but without him, the winning percentage dips dramatically, showing just how dependent this offense has been on his presence. In the meantime, rookie Myles Hinton has had his practice window opened, providing the Eagles with a potential solution to bolster the line. Hinton, a towering 6'7", 323-pound tackle, brings a blend of size and athleticism that the Eagles desperately need, coming out of Stanford and then transferring to Michigan. Hinton has shown promise both as a run blocker and as a developing pass protector, though there's still refinement needed in his technique. His ability to swing between right and left tackle, coupled with his professional football lineage, makes him an intriguing option. To help stabilize a line that has been inconsistent at best, Fred Johnson has stepped in admirably in Lane's absence. But the overall unit still shows cracks that could be exploited by a talented defensive front, and that becomes even more critical with Sunday's matchup looming. Cam Jurgens' health remains another variable, having missed multiple games following off-season back surgery. The center position has not been a stable anchor Brett Todd has filled in when needed, showing flashes of competence. Yet the overall cohesion of the line has been a recurring concern. The Eagles have managed some wins without Johnson and Jurgens at full strength, but the longer-term trend has been clear. The offensive line struggles correlate directly with the team's offensive output and efficiency. Adding to the complexity is the presence of Willie Lampkin, a smaller yet highly aggressive interior lineman who could potentially fill in as a developmental player. At 5'10" and under 180 pounds, he might seem undersized by NFL standards, but his leverage, hand technique, and aggressive style make him a player who can punch above his weight. Lampkin's experience across all interior spots, from center to both guard positions, could give the Eagles flexibility, especially if they aim to rotate players and maintain effectiveness in the face of ongoing injuries. His background as a state-level wrestling champion translates to the physicality and low pad level required in the trenches, something that could help keep the Eagles competitive against interior defensive lines. Speaking of defenses, Sunday's game against the Cowboys presents a formidable challenge. Dallas, despite a historically weaker defensive season overall, has bolstered its interior defensive line with the addition of Quinnen Williams, a former All-Pro who made an immediate impact in his debut with the team, paired with Osa Odighizuwa and Kenny Clark. The Cowboys' interior suddenly ranks among the league's elite, meaning the Eagles' offensive line will have its hands full. Matchups here will be critical, especially with the potential for a high-scoring affair if the Eagles' offense cannot maintain rhythm and protect the quarterback. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, two of the league's most explosive receivers, will rely heavily on the line to give them the separation and protection needed to maximize their impact. Yet, the challenges go beyond just protecting the quarterback. The Eagles' offense has struggled with predictability and creativity, particularly in the passing game. Historically, wide receivers like A.J. Brown thrive when given diverse route concepts that allow them to attack all areas of the field, including the middle. However, in 2025, the offense has shown a reluctance to target that critical intermediate zone between the numbers. Instead, the game plan has relied heavily on hitch routes, go balls, and outside patterns that are easier for defenses to anticipate and counter. This lack of variety not only limits the opportunities for big plays, but also allows defensive coordinators to pack coverage and neutralize what should be a lethal receiving course. Looking at the data, the trends are striking. Jalen Hurts, the Eagles' quarterback, ranks near the bottom among all quarterbacks when it comes to targeting intermediate passes between 10 and 22 yards across the middle. From 2021 through 2025, his attempts in this zone have consistently placed him in the bottom tier of quarterbacks with over 100 passing attempts per season. This isn't necessarily a reflection of Hurts' ability to make these throws he has shown he can, but rather a symptom of the offensive philosophy in place. Combined with a reluctance to expose the ball to traffic in congested areas, the preference to work outside with safer, shorter throws has created a conservative approach that has cost the team valuable yardage and scoring opportunities. Comparing this to previous seasons illustrates the difference when receivers are properly utilized. A.J. Brown, in games where he was given freedom to run a full route tree, produced at a top-tier level, often exceeding 100 receiving yards and creating mismatches for opposing defenses. When restricted to predictable patterns, however, the offense stagnates, and third down conversions become a recurring issue. The inability to sustain drives and capitalize on talent at the skill positions has been one of the central frustrations for fans and analysts alike. The solution likely requires both scheming creativity from the coaching staff and a willingness from Hurts to push the ball into more challenging areas, trusting his receivers to make plays after the catch. Another layer to this offensive puzzle is the frequency of hitch routes in the Eagles system. In 2025, the Eagles have run these short, high-percentage routes at an unprecedented rate. While hitches serve a strategic purpose in certain situations, the volume and deployment in this season has been counterproductive. By leaning too heavily on these patterns, the offense has become predictable, allowing defenses to anticipate and neutralize threats. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, three of the team's primary targets, have been heavily funneled into this type of route, which limits spacing and fails to exploit mismatches created by their unique skill sets. The end result is an offense that is easier to defend, despite having the talent to overwhelm almost any secondary in the league. Ultimately, the Eagles' offensive struggles in 2025 come down to a combination of injuries, line instability, predictable play calling, and a failure to utilize talent in space. The quarterback, the wide receivers, and even the offensive linemen all have the tools to succeed, but the current scheme has not maximized their potential against a Cowboys team that, despite previous inconsistencies, now boasts one of the NFL's top interior defensive lines. These deficiencies will be magnified. How the Eagles adapt and respond in the coming weeks, whether by activating Hinton or Lampkin, adjusting their blocking schemes, or finally diversifying their passing attack, will be pivotal for their playoff hopes and overall identity as a team. Building off the issues we've already covered, one of the most glaring concerns for the Eagles' offense in 2025 is the persistent lack of creativity in the middle of the field. When you watch Jalen Hurts drop back and survey the defense, there is a clear pattern. Most of the action occurs near the sidelines, with the intermediate zones largely ignored. This isn't just a stylistic choice, it has real consequences for the offense. By not attacking the area between the numbers, the Eagles effectively remove a third of the field from the equation, allowing defensive coordinators to funnel traffic to the edges and make life easier for their safeties and linebackers. It's a problem that goes beyond one player or one coach. It's systemic and has been evident over multiple seasons. Looking at A.J. Brown specifically, his route trees in 2024 show exactly what happens when a receiver is used creatively. Against the Packers in Week 1, he had routes stretching across every blade of grass, north, south, east, and west, allowing him to create separation in multiple areas. The result was a performance that saw him rack up over 100 yards receiving, exploiting mismatches, and creating opportunities for big plays. Contrast that with the 2025 approach against Detroit, where the Eagles largely ran hitches, stops, and go balls on the outside. Brown's talents as a receiver, his ability to break tackles and gain extra yards after the catch, were underutilized. The limited route diversity made it easy for defenders to predict where he would go, and the offense sputtered as a result. Devontae Smith faces a similar issue, with his route options also restricted, reducing his impact on the field despite his elite ability to win contested catches and navigate traffic. Part of the reasoning behind avoiding the middle of the field seems to come from a philosophy of ball security. Nick Sirianni has repeatedly emphasized the importance of keeping the ball out of harm's way, which naturally leads to a preference for sideline throws, hitches, and quick passes. In theory, this approach reduces risk, but in practice, it also limits upside. When you focus too heavily on safe passing zones, you allow defenses to compress the field horizontally, leaving few gaps to exploit. The result is a predictable passing game that struggles to convert third downs and maintain drives, particularly against disciplined defenses that can cover the width of the field effectively. The Eagles' struggles on third downs are particularly telling in 2025. They have ranked near the bottom of the league in third down conversions, which directly correlates with the conservative approach to intermediate routes. Without consistent third down success, sustaining drives becomes difficult, and the offense cannot build momentum. This, in turn, places additional pressure on the offensive line to perform at an elite level, which has been a challenge with the injuries and rotations that have plagued the unit all season. Lane Johnson's absence amplifies these issues, and even when the line is relatively healthy, cohesion has been hard to achieve. The fact that the Eagles' front five has only been fully healthy together for one complete game this season speaks volumes about the hurdles they face. Speaking of the offensive line, the interplay between Hinton, Lampkin, and the veterans will be critical in the coming weeks. Hinton's size and swing tackle ability offer a potential solution to Johnson's absence, but there will be growing pains. Lampkin's shorter frame and leverage-based style provide a different set of tools, particularly in run blocking and interior line scenarios. But he also requires careful coaching and technique refinement. To be consistently effective in the NFL, Fred Johnson, stepping in at right tackle, has shown he can handle the job, but his ability to anchor against premier pass rushers remains a question mark. Meanwhile, Cam Jurgens' ongoing injury recovery keeps the center position in flux, and Brett Toth's performances, while competent, have been inconsistent. The line as a whole must gel quickly, because any further breakdowns will be exploited by opponents who have capable defensive fronts. And the Cowboys' interior trio of Quinnen Williams, Osa Odighizuwa, and Kenny Clark is exactly that. Beyond the offensive line, the play-calling philosophy must evolve. Kevin Patullo has maintained a system that leans heavily on high-percentage outside throws and predictable routes, and while Hurts is capable of executing more complex concepts, the lack of design in intermediate and crossing routes limits his options. When you combine that with an over-reliance on hitches routes that have been historically high in usage for the Eagles' defenses can anticipate patterns, leaving receivers well covered and the quarterback with fewer windows to attack. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, who are capable of breaking games open, are constrained by this predictable design. When the field is fully utilized, these players thrive. But in 2025, they've often been forced to operate in compressed space or execute simple patterns that limit their natural advantages. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. The NFL world is buzzing with whispers that could shake the very foundation of the league. Rumors are swirling that the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles is under an intense investigation, and sources suggest that the fallout could reach as high as the Super Bowl itself. Details remain murky, but insiders hint at possible improprieties behind closed doors, raising questions about the integrity of the team's meteoric rise this season. Fans and pundits alike are scrambling to piece together the puzzle. Social media is ablaze with speculation, with some suggesting that the investigation could threaten the Eagles' participation in the championship game, while the league has remained tight-lipped. Anonymous sources claim that investigators are looking into financial and operational practices at the highest level of the organization. If the allegations hold weight, the implications could be unprecedented, potentially altering the playoff picture and casting a long shadow over what was expected to be a historic moment for the franchise. The rumor mill has never been this active. Analysts are debating whether this could impact player morale, coaching strategies, and even the fan base's trust. Meanwhile, rival teams are reportedly watching closely, sensing that any disruption could create openings in the competitive landscape. Every statement from team executives, league officials, and even the players is being dissected for hidden meanings or slips of the tongue, as speculation mounts about the seriousness of the probe. While the league maintains that it does not comment on ongoing investigations, the mere suggestion of such a scenario has ignited debates across sports talk shows and forums. Could the Super Bowl be at risk because of off-field controversies? Some insiders are already drawing comparisons to past scandals that rocked the NFL, warning that the consequences could be severe and far-reaching. For now, the Eagles remain on the field, but the tension is palpable. Fans are left wondering, will this be a season remembered for triumph or turmoil? Only time and the league's next moves will tell. But one thing is clear, the NFL's spotlight has shifted from touchdowns and tackles to a story that could redefine the very notion of accountability in professional football. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.